Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Dose. Inshallah, your Ramadan is going great. Inshallah, today I will be talking about a sahabiya from the Ansar. Her name is Nusaybah bint, and her nickname is Umara, or also she is called the Iron Woman. Umara was married to Zayd bin Asim, and they were from the Ansar. She was one of the very few Muslims at the early times that witnessed Bay'at al-Aqaba, the second Bay'at al-Aqaba. She was one of two women who gave the pledge to the Prophet ﷺ. Because she was from the earlier Muslims, she actually witnessed many battles and many events of the history of the early Islamic history. She witnessed the Battle of Uhud, the Battle of Bay'at al-Ridwan. She also witnessed Bay'at al-Hudaybiyah, Hunayn, and al-Yamama. In the Battle of Uhud, Nusaybah actually came out to help with the women in the back of the battlefield, where they were cooking and nursing the injured and basically cheering on the soldiers. And when the Muslims were beginning to become defeated, Nusaybah left her post in the nursing station and the cooking station with the women, and she drew her sword and she went to protect the Prophet ﷺ. And later on, the Prophet ﷺ says that every time I looked around, Nusaybah was around there protecting me. I would look to my right and she was there. I would look to my left and she was there. And subhanAllah, after the battle, they ended up going to check up on her, and they saw that she had 12 different wounds in her body. And it said that one of those wounds took over a year to heal. May Allah be pleased with her. There's a story that Nusaybah went to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him, "Oh, Prophet Muhammad, make dua that I become one of your companions in Al-Jannah." So the Prophet ﷺ on the spot raised his hands and he said, "Oh Allah, make Nusaybah, her husband, and her two sons my companions in Jannah, in paradise." And subhanAllah, Nusaybah after that said, after this dua and after this guarantee, basically, I will not feel grief or be saddened by anything in this dunya. In the Battle of Hunayn, when the Muslims were completely defeated, she unsheathed her sword and was calling, "Oh Ansar, this is not like you. Come back, oh Ansar. This is not who you are. You need to fight for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." And it was said that one of the mushrikeen was following the Sahaba to try and hurt them, and she blocked his way. And she reports, and she said, "I continued to block his way until the person fell off his camel. I drew my sword and I hit him with it." And subhanAllah, like the stories that Nusaybah says about herself and the Prophet ﷺ reports about her prove that she is an Iron Woman, subhanAllah. She had two sons, Abdullah and Habib, and her son Habib was actually killed by Musaylim al-Kadhab, who claimed to be a prophet. He was asked, or Musaylima asked Habib to say that Musaylima was a prophet, and he refused, and he killed him. And when Nusaybah heard the news, she said, "I believe that he's a martyr, and I believe in Allah's will and Allah's decree. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah." And she did not let that hurt her. But then at the time later on, when the fight against Musaylima was happening, Nusaybah asked to go out and be in the battlefield as well, and she went out, and her other son Abdullah was the person who ended up killing Musaylima al-Kadhab. During this battle of al-Yamama against Musaylima al-Kadhab, she fought severely. She fought really hard with the Muslims that she ended up losing one of her hands. And subhanAllah, Khalid ibn al-Walid had to dip her hand in boiling oil to help sanitize her hand and stop the bleeding. And she says that, "I would rather get my arm cut off several times than have that oil put on my arm." But subhanAllah, she lived to tell that story, and she lived through that, and she continued to train women and teach them what she learned from the Prophet ﷺ. There's also a story to end with. Nusaybah radiallahu anha went to the Prophet ﷺ and said, "How come the Qur'an only mentions the men? It seems like there isn't equality where men are mentioned but women are not mentioned as much." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed ayah 35 in chapter 33, where it says, "Surely the men who submit to Allah and the women who submit to Allah, the men who have faith and the women who have faith, the men who are obedient and the women who are obedient, the men who are truthful and the women who are truthful, the men who are steadfast, the women who are steadfast," until the end of the ayah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned men and women continuously doing all these different ibadat and doing all these morals that we should achieve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the men and the women in that. And Umara spent the rest of her life after that worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She did not really go into battle after Al-Yamama. And after a long journey of serving Islam with her money, her time, her soul, and her children, the Iron Lady's soul ascended to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the year 13 after Hijrah. So when we hear the story of Umara, Nusaybah bint, this Iron woman, and we see everything that she was able to accomplish, we need to understand as women at this time and as men of this time to support our women around us, and to understand that women can be trailblazers, women can be homemakers, they can be married and have children, but also work in the da'wah. They could also be activists and go out there and work for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and still dedicate time to worship. And there is no shame of going up to scholars and asking them directly. We don't have to send our husbands, we don't have to send our fathers and other men to do that job for us. She went directly to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him, why doesn't the Qur'an talk about women the way it talks about men? She also asked the Prophet directly, why don't you ask Allah, or please ask Allah, make dua for me that I become your companion in Jannah. We need to look at this from an aspect of everything that she has done was within the realm of Islamic behavior and morals and adab with working with the Prophet ﷺ, but she still was out there, she was still fighting, she was still on the battlefield. She did not stay behind at home and say, oh, I need to be a homemaker, I need to stay here and take care of the kids until my husband comes home. There's nothing wrong with a woman to be at home taking care of her husband and her children, but we need to stop holding back our women and allow them to be trailblazers in their field, whether that is in activism or religious scholarly education or scientific education. Inshallah, the story of Nusaybah and Umara gives us some motivation to work hard and strive for the work and activism and the science, and to be trailblazers in our fields. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.